Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is well. Welcome to our graphic design info session this evening. My name is Gary. I work in the art and design department with programs in graphic design, UX and UI design, interior design, visual arts, and photography. So my background is in advertising, graphic design, and in UX and UI design. So with us this evening is Ivan Trujillo. He specializes in packaging design, branding, and UX design. So he has worked for a variety of companies, including Kimberly-Clark Corporation, Acuity Brands, Nice Limited, Anthem IDEO, and many more. And he's also a freelance designer. He has worked with Dunhill, Puma, Safeway, and Lexus, Samsung, Emory University, and Maryland Jaeger Skin Care. So he's currently our program director in graphic and UX design program here at the UC Berkeley Extension. He will be presenting this evening. So welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you, Gary. Hi, everyone. Welcome to UC Berkeley Extension. Tonight, we're going to have our professional program in graphic design information session. We are going to open up for different questions at different stages during the presentation. So feel free to add your questions at the Q&A link, and then that way we can see what you need. All right, so I have a master in fine arts in graphic design and package design from Savannah College of Art and Design University down in the South. And I've been here as a program director since 2014 at UC Berkeley Extension. And I've been working as an instructor since 2010. So let me tell you a little bit about the graphic design field and the competitive environment. So at the moment, we are in high demand, especially here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but also like in many different states around the country. When it comes to like doing graphic design, we normally work for like agencies, for marketing departments. We can also work as UI designers or visual designers, depending on our specialty. So there are plenty of opportunities for us as graphic designers to be working in the field. And that, you know, like the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a 4% growth rate for graphic designers from now until 2026. So important things to have in consideration when one is applying for a job is to have a bachelor's degree. That bachelor's degree doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be in graphic design per se. It can be in anything. And as long as you have a body of work, a portfolio that showcases your skills as a graphic designer, then you can get by with that and you can apply for different type of jobs. So that's a recommendation to have a bachelor's degree in anything, because most companies are going to require that as a minimum sort of like requirement to apply for the job. When it comes to job opportunities, you know, like after finishing the program, one can become a graphic designer, a production designer or production artist, a digital producer, a visual designer, a marketing strategist, depending on the setup that organization might have, and also an illustrator or infographics designer, as well as a UI designer. Do you have any questions so far? we can open it up for 2 or 3 minutes. So like, go ahead and place your question in the Q&A, and Gary can read that to us. If there are not any questions, we can move along, Gary.
Yeah, it looks like there aren't any questions at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, there's one just came up. What are your program demographics?
So our program demographics for the graphic design, it's 30 years of age, 80% female and 20% male. And the average age is that, but then we have people in their 20s, we have people in their 30s, and some handful in their 40s, as well as 50s. But mostly it's gonna be 30 years of age. That's the majority of our students.
So any other questions before we move on? All right, seems like we are able to move on.
Okay, so, our professional program in graphic design is divided as a program that one can apply for those different type of jobs that I mentioned before, but it's divided and it's organized, and you will see that in the next couple of slides, as a group of 7 different required courses and several courses that we call courses for further advancement. So I'll explain that in a little bit. But here, like on this slide, like we can see the type of students that come to us. The majority of them are gonna be career changers. Like some people are in marketing, some people are in other aspects of design, maybe like fashion design, or they're in fashion marketing as well. Some people are in computer engineering, and many, many different fields. So like we will provide you with all the different skills, all the different tips, trends that it's required to be able to move to the graphic design field, as an industry. Some other students come to us as career advancement. We offer courses not only that are for the program itself, for the professional program, but one can take individual courses in order to gain certain type of skills and be able to move towards a better job employment, right? Like if your employer is asking you to speed up your skills, perhaps in web design and HTML, then we're here to fill in those gaps. And you can only sign up for that particular course. So you don't need to sign up for the entire program. Another thing is that you will develop fundamental skills, learn theory and practice, and apply that theory. Like we believe that theory will give you sort of like the starting point and the explanation foundations of how things work in design. And then with practice, hands-on exercises, sketching, doodling, doing things with the different software will create those different skills that you need to gain to be able to move up. And also, you will create a professional portfolio. So every course is designed to have a project or sometimes multiple projects that will fit into your final portfolio. And I will show you a couple of samples of that at the end of the presentation. Gary, can you fill in a little bit here in the 7 required courses while I turn on my lights? I'll be right back, because I just noticed it's getting a little dark. sorry, apologies for that. So we have our program that like has those 7 required courses, and I'll show you those in the next slide. But I want to tell you also that you can complete the program either in 1 year or 2 years, or even as fast as 2 semesters. You can take one course, like 4 courses in the first semester, let's say now in the spring 2021, and then you can take the following 3 courses in the summer semester. So it can be as quickly as you want, or also it can be done on a part-time basis by taking like 1 course or 2 courses per semester. We recommend if one is taking the program on full-time basis, that you're not necessarily working, because you will meet with the instructors, like let's say that you decide to take 4 courses in a spring. So like that will be 12 hours of work while taking the classes live online, plus average 5 or 6 hours of homework per course. So that's gonna bring you into a full-time sort of load. So we don't recommend to take a full-time load of classes when one is working also full-time. It won't be doable, and probably your portfolio will suffer if that is the case. So it's better to slow down and take 1 course at a time. Here are all the 7 different required courses, and you can see samples over here to the side, and they are enumerated with the courses down below. So like the 7 courses are as follows. Visual Design Principles is your course number 1. Number 2 will be Illustrator 1. Number 3, InDesign. Number 4, Typography Fundamentals. Number 5, Photoshop 1. Number 6, Web Design with HTML5 and CSS3. And number 7, Graphic and Web Design Portfolio. On the website, we're gonna explain to you thoroughly what each course is about. And there's, of course, the course description, the course learning objectives, some of the topics that you will learn while taking the class, the type of skills that you will gain, and much more. So, but briefly, in Visual Design Principles, we're gonna teach you like those essential design principles that happen in every design field. And this will be applied primarily for graphic design and UX design. We'll teach you, like grid systems, how to set up documents that are in order, and so that you can portray information to your viewers or to your readers the right way, right? So that you are sort of like marketing on target, depending of the project that you might be working, whether it's for the class or in the future in real life when you're working for an organization. In Illustrator 1, we're gonna teach you how to use the Adobe Illustrator software, primarily the pen tool, so that you can draw from logos like digital drawings all the way to infographics and do all kinds of different adjustments. One can create like packaging, or one can create also like children's books and things of that nature by using the Illustrator software. And we'll teach you many different tools, not just the pen tool. InDesign is primarily for a multi-page type of document, something think about like a book or a magazine. a newsletter, an annual report, or anything that it's like a long format that requires more than one page. You know, like brochures, leaflets, all that can be done through InDesign. And in InDesign, you're primarily gonna manage a lot of type setup, and you're gonna manage also placement of images or graphics. In Typography Fundamentals, we will teach you like all the different requirements necessary to understand type, how to pair type, how to organize type, create hierarchy by providing perhaps emphasis on headlines and subheadings. So we're gonna teach you all those different levels of how to portray information in the correct way, so that whatever you're doing design-wise, whatever document you're setting up, that it's set up correctly. And we'll teach you like all the rules, something that it's called like type anatomy. So we'll like, you will be learning sort of like to become a geek in typography. And I mean that in a good way, because we learn all this different terminology, and not just for the aspect of the terminology, but how to apply it when you're actually working with large quantities of type. So typography and InDesign go well together, but typography goes well with every single aspect of graphic design. If the type is set up incorrectly, you might not be able to have a successful project. Whereas if you pair type with your images or with your vector graphics coming from Illustrator, it might be the little thing that pushes the design to be forward and to be outstanding. So we gotta keep an eye on type scales. Then Photoshop 1, it's a really fun course. Like we teach you all the different skills in terms of like photo enhancements, creating composites, working with multiple layers, saving for print, saving for web, and GIF files so that you can do sort of like little animations too. Like if the projects that we handle are gonna require that, but we have set up this program in a way that the same skills that you learn while you're in the classroom with us, that's what you're gonna apply when you have a real job working for an organization. And moving along with the web design with HTML5 and CSS3 skills, we're gonna teach you to code from scratch, like do hand coding. And I don't want you to be, you know, like skeptical about that. Like Steve or Deepa, they're like really good at what they do in their coding classes, and they will walk you through. And that way you will be able to have a successful website, a prototype that is working fully by the end of the semester. Sometimes we have projects that encompass, you know, like 4 or 5 up to like 6 different pages. And by the end of the semester, you're gonna like see that that website has come to life, and that, you know, there are no broken links or anything like that. So they will walk you through those different aspects to also like be compliant with what the industry requires in terms of like outcomes. And in the graphic and web design portfolio, basically this is sort of like the capstone course of the program, in which you're gonna bring together the content from the 6 previous courses. So you're gonna bring like all those different projects that you created, and I teach the course myself. So like I'm gonna help you out to like tweak, perfect, make it like very presentable, and give you tips and give you like guidance in how to put together a portfolio that it's worth of, you know, like being a part of the industry. And I'll show you some of those samples towards the end. And then we have what we call courses for further advancement in graphic design. And these are sort of like specialty courses. And we have illustrating children's books, animation design and video production, branding, expressive and experimental typography, digital illustration, package design, and internship in graphic design. So this semester, we're offering the first two, illustrating children's books and animation design and video production. And these courses run, you know, sometimes once or twice a year. Whereas the required courses, the 7 that I show you, those run on a semester basis. And just to clarify, like we run fall, spring, and summer semester every year. We don't run a winter semester, but those 7 required courses are offered in every single semester. So you can enter at any given point during the year. And we also have like courses for further advancement in UX design, such as diagramming and prototyping, essentials of UX design, user interface design, accessibility in UX design, as well as design thinking and UX strategy. And there are many more, but these are more like the ones that will be sort of in line with like graphic design skills. Do you have any questions about the required courses of courses for further advancement? We can open it up for like 3 to 5 minutes, depending on your questions. Gary, let me know if there are any questions.
Nothing right now. So I've been answering a lot of questions in the Q&A box, mostly just, well, one of the question was that would we introduce more in a relationship between 3D printing and graphic design?
No, we unfortunately don't offer any courses in 3D printing. However, the skills that you learn in graphic design by using Illustrator or any of the software that we teach, that eventually can be like those files, especially from Illustrator, can be like plugged into a 3D printer and you can have your outcome in there.
So I don't think we have any more questions.
Let's just like wait a little bit in case somebody else has a question. All right, let's move along. So here there's some, you know, like technology kind of like requirements that we want you to be aware for the about the graphic design program. So we highly recommend that you either have an Apple MacBook or a PC that is 18 to 16 gigabytes of memory RAM, that you will become a member from the Adobe Creative Cloud. Adobe Creative Cloud is the software that graphic designers use not only in the United States, but anywhere in the world. And so the way that it works is that as a student, you pay a membership, a monthly membership or a year membership to be able to use the software at your leisure. So we recommend you to become a member if you are signing up for the full program. And since the beginning of August 15, 2020, if you're going to enroll for any of our courses, you must have a Zoom account to be able to participate during our class meetings, because they will be run that way. So very similarly as to what we're doing here, like the difference today is that we are in a webinar, but we are using Zoom. Printers, like this is something that I recommend if one is going to do the full-time, the program, the full program, and if one is going to be a freelancer. However, in the meantime, because we are not meeting in the classroom as we used to do it before the pandemic, you can get by without the printer, but we recommend that any of those three different brands, Canon, Epson, or HP, on a large format of at least 11 by 17 inches, and that has 8 ink cartridges at least. Sometimes they come up with up to 12 different cartridges, and that will enhance, your colors and all of those different things. But at the moment, that's not a requirement because we are not meeting in person. So you will be submitting all of your projects in a digital manner. So here are some of our instructors. Josh Halstead, he's a senior manager brand at Opportun. Abigail Rodner, it's a creative director, a visual designer, and a curriculum developer, or she develops curriculum. And Nicolas Gutierrez, it's a photographer, and he teaches the Photoshop course, and he has his own practice, which is called Ned Gutierrez Photography and Creative Studio. And Josh Halstead teaches visual design principles as well as accessibility. And Abigail Rudner teaches visual design principles, Illustrator, and Photoshop, but she doesn't teach these courses necessarily like every semester or all of them happening at the same semester. We have many different instructors that teach an individual course, or maybe 2 maximum per term. And so those are only a few. We have many more, like on the website, you can find their names, and I will walk you through so that you can check their biography too when you're on the website. And where you learn, basically our classes these days are hosted via Zoom and Canvas. So like very similarly to what we're using today. But I wanted to show you a little bit, sort of like a sneak peek of what our classrooms look like in the San Francisco campus for when we're ready to go back after the pandemic. Like many people are excited and waiting to be in person. So we are the same. And so I didn't want you to like miss the opportunity to kind of like see a little bit of our campus. So if you are enrolling in the program and that's your idea, right? Like what you need to do in order to get your award of completion is register for the program, complete the courses with grades of C or better. So a D was C minus, like doesn't necessarily apply for the professional program. Like none of our programs actually at UC Berkeley Extension can be passed with a grade of C minus or below. If that is the case, if one gets a C minus or any type of D, that course unfortunately needs to be retaken. And so just be aware of that. And then you necessarily need to pay for the whole program at once. You pay as you go, meaning you pay for individual courses. So if you decide to take one course every semester, that's what you will pay. Our courses run from $917 to $981. And if you decide to take four, then you will have to pay for those four. So like, again, as you go. And then at the end, you will earn the award of completion when you have successfully passed the 7 different courses. So let me just like show you like briefly like what our graduates go on to do. And so like some of them, Susanne Rothberg, she's a junior graphic designer at Serena and Lilly. Clark Doliver is a graphic designer at Phoenix Inc. And Ankita Mantri is a graphic designer at Sue Furnish. There are so many stories, so many grads. We have like an average of 8 students to 10 finishing every semester. Like sometimes we have like more, like in the fall semester and spring, the course is lively with many different students, 15 to 20. But in the summer, it's a little bit lower the amount of students that enrolled for the summer semester. And so that brings us to an average of 8 to 10 throughout the semester. 8 to 10 per semester throughout the year. So what's next? What you need to do is to create a free student account, which I believe you already have if you are in this webinar, because that's a requirement for getting into this. So that it's already taken care of. And the next step is to either enroll in Visual Design Principles or Illustrator 1 courses. On the website, I'm gonna show you that like the way that the courses appear on the website, like that's the ideal way to take those courses. However, like if the dates that those courses are offered like don't necessarily work for you for many different reasons, then you might be able to skip, like here and there the order, but try to go in the order as much as possible because courses sort of like build upon each other. And then sign up for our monthly email in which we communicate the courses that are coming, or maybe workshops or different events that the university has programmed throughout the year. And so that will be good. We also have a Facebook and a Twitter account, also a LinkedIn group, in which you can sign up for those, and we will send you those links so that you can reach out directly. And that way you will be informed of other different events that normally the graphic design department itself is hosting, because this one it's for like the whole university. whereas our Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn groups are for specifically graphic and UX design. And I just all the work that you have seen on this slide deck, it's by our former students. So I just wanted to provide credits, as we should, because that's the norm in the industry. So whenever you work with somebody else, you give credit to that person, or whenever you use somebody's images or documents, you ask for permission, and also you credit those people. And so that's the way that we have done it over here. So let's open it for Q&A. And before I go to the website to show you different things.
All right, so the students, you can actually unmute yourself if you wish to speak, or else you can just type your question in the chat box or the Q&A box, and I'll try to read them out, and we can answer them. So any question in the chat box or Q&A box? Just drop any questions and we'll answer them. All right, so there's a question. So if we have enrolled in visual design principles, but Illustrator work better for us, is it easier to make the change?
One can make the change like before the other class begins. However, like the university will charge a $35 fee for processing that change. And I want to clarify that we at the department level run the academics, meaning the courses, the scheduling, and we interact with instructors and students, but everything that is core fees related, it's directly with the register office. And so, yes, that can be done.
Do we have any other questions? Sounds like a very quiet group.
Yeah,
but I've been answering a lot of questions individually, but
oh, okay. I'm like kind of like, oh, people don't have any questions. That's a little
but there
bit
were a lot of
odd.
questions in the chat box and the Q&A as you were presenting, but right now seems to be very quiet. Oh, here's the one. I can't figure out how to unmute. Oh, just for FYI, we cannot other students cannot speak over the microphone. So the best is just put your text or in the chat box or the Q&A box.
Like, let's do it in the Q&A box. I think that will be more suitable and more helpful for us.
Yeah, because there's a webinar, so the attendees cannot speak, unfortunately. So please type down your questions and we can answer them. So Raymond, did you have a question? So Raymond has the question, should we purchase a pen tablet?
Only if you are taking the animation design course, animation design and video production, which is highly recommended. And also, like, if you enjoy doing a lot of like digital drawings, I will recommend that, but that's not necessarily a requirement for the program. It's a good to have kind of like equipment.
Any other questions? So here's one from Krista. It seems like the first few courses could apply to different certificates. At what point could a student change course?
Okay, so the Visual Design Principles course, it's a course that is good for the graphic design and the UX programs of study. So like when one is, let's say hypothetically speaking, that you can change at any given time, but let's say hypothetically speaking that the person wants to do the graphic design program, person finishes the program, and then later on is interested in UX. So like that Visual Design Principles course will apply as long as it's within 5 years of the moment that you took the Visual Design Principles course. That will apply, and you don't have to pay for that course twice. And you don't have to take it, which is very cool.
Let's see, there any other questions? Don't be shy, we're here to answer questions.
Yeah, take the opportunity that we are here and we can answer anything that you might want. That way you don't need to send emails or anything like that. Like after you turn it off, you turn off your machine, you have all your questions answered.
So here's another question. Can you speak to the difference between the UX certificate and the graphic design one?
Well, those are two different fields to begin with. Graphic design work, mostly it's gonna be like visual, like graphic design work is gonna go on to doing different things such as books of any kind, magazines, like digital magazines, printed magazines, like children's books. Is going to be advertisements that you see on billboards or web of magazines or in many different spots, right? Like train stations, on buses. It's going to be also like marketing related pieces or collateral pieces. And this can be like done from like presentation decks for, like organizations to like postcards, leaflets, anything that is promotional that has a graphic or type setup. That is the job of a graphic designer, right? It will include also animations in case the person is interested in motion design or motion graphics. We can do graphics of that nature, or it can be also the interface that we see on a website or that we see on an application. And that's the work of a graphic designer / visual designer. whereas the UX designer person, it's a person that I like to give the analogy of a sandwich, right? Like the bottom slice of that bread is gonna be the developer. The mid part of that the middle part of that sandwich is gonna be the UX designer, and the top slice of bread is gonna be the visual designer / graphic designer, UI designer. And so they have different roles. The UX designer like troubleshoots, like problems. She or he is in charge of like making all those different transitions that might happen on a website, might happen on an application, or with any machinery, as to make it smooth for the user. So it's basically like a lot of like troubleshooting and figuring out easy ways to make easy transitions for the end user. Whereas graphic design, it's mostly like visual, what you see on the front end of that website or the application.
So here's a long question from Raymond. Basically, I'll just digest it and make it shorter. So basically, Raymond has experience working with Photoshop for 10 years. And he has taken Photoshop previously. Would that be a sufficient qualification to getting an exemption from the course?
Technically speaking, yes, but it all depends, right? Like you, Raymond will need to submit his portfolio, right, to us, and we will review it with our teacher from Photoshop and a panel of instructors, and give a final result as to yes or not. And it all depends if it's, you know, like the skills that you're showing are the same skills that we're teaching, that it's adequate, that we see that there are similar outcomes of what we offer in the program. And if the answer is yes, so like the Raymond, you won't have to take that course, but you will need to substitute that course for a different type, because for this type of programs that are like sort of like short in the amount of courses, the university has a policy in which it explains that all the credit units need to be taken by the student. And so if we say yes, then like it needs to be replaced perhaps for a course of your interest that is within the UX, UI, or graphic design, so that is in line with that sort of like grouping of courses.
So the next question is, what are some examples of non-corporate jobs that a graphic designer could have?
A graphic designer can work for like a non-profit organization. There are many different non-profits that hire graphic designers, or one can be also like a freelance designer and work for many different non-profit organizations, sort of like set up your own practice, which many students have done in the past.
So did a circle back to Krista's earlier question. I missed the second part of it. So she was wondering, does a MacBook Air generally work in our course?
Yes, MacBook Airs, like I actually use a MacBook Air myself, and I run smoothly with that. So if any of the MacBooks can work for taking our courses, as long as you have 18 to 16 gigabytes of memory RAM, that should be sufficient.
Another question from Catherine. Do you need to be a strong artist to be in a course?
No, you don't. Like we will walk you through from the beginning. Like most of our courses start very basic, but they end up like increasing sort of like the level of expertise as the weeks go by, so that you can end up having like great work at the end of the semester. And after we do the Q&A, I want to show everyone different samples from our former students so that you can see the outcomes of those different courses. We will walk you step by step on how to do things. So you don't need to be a great artist, you will become a great one.
Any other questions? All right, seems like we have answered all the questions so far.
Okay, so thank you for joining us. And let me show you here, like share my screen again and show you our website. And so here is our website for the professional program in graphic design. If one clicks on this, that will take you to our Voices blog. And then we have several articles about graphic design and UX design. So like we like showcase like former students in our Voices blog. And so they can tell you a little bit about their journey, their experience within the program, their experience finding a job, like doing job searches and things of that nature. There's also a video over here of Ankita, so feel free to click on that. Another thing that you can do is like when you come over here to the search bar, you can do graphic design, hit search, and then you will be able to see different articles from former students, even like instructors. And you know, Josh is an instructor, Minaship is an instructor too. Here we have also like Julie Downing that does children's books. So feel free to peruse over here, but I want to take you back to the landing page in graphic design. One more level. Actually, I have to like go back to the website. And so click on academic areas, art and design, and then choose a graphic design tile that you're gonna see here. And we are back over here. So I want to show you, there are like FAQs over here. So feel free also like to read more about that in case you have any further questions. If you are ready to register for the program, you can come over here on how to register. Click on this link and follow the on-screen instructions. And then let's move along over here to the courses, which I wanted to show you all these different samples. So like here we have provided you with some hyperlinks to maybe understand terminology that you might not be familiar with and give you some extra information. But I also want to show you like more importantly at this point, like different samples of our students' work. So this is Monica Ma. She did actually both programs, the graphic design and the visual design. So the samples that I want to show you tonight is visual design. And so you can see over here, like what she has done. She created sort of like a GIF animation over here, like done in Photoshop. You know, she used different tools over here for this project, like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Sketch, and Squarespace. She created a timeline, you know, like explained the problem, sort of like showed the before and after. So like that's before. Then she created a brand strategy with a mood board. And then here are a couple of sketches. And then here is sort of like part of the branding within creating a logo and its different variations, the color palette, the typography that is recommended to go along with that brand, the type of patterns that can go well with the brand, and the different brand applications. So you can see like step by step all the different things that she created. This is the business card. So like in the front, you know, it's where the contact info is, and on the back you can see the usage of that pattern. This is the letterhead. And then here are some applications of that sort of like cover CD and, you know, animations that she created for the brand. And then here you can see sort of like brochures and like teachers and pins. And then the website, you know, like this is sort of like the layout of the website. So you can see that it's a comprehensive like project that has, you know, like great outcomes visually. If you want, you can click on the website and see what she has created. So like that's one, you know, like just one single sample about the visual design principles course. Here is another sample for the Illustrator course. So same different hyperlinks for your information. If you scroll down over here, like you can click on the instructor's name, and then you can see his or her biography. So feel free to like check that information too. We will tell you over here like when the courses run, right? Like the dates, the fee of the course, like you will, if you're ready to like register for that, you will add it to the cart. And this is like important information that appears on every page, on every course. So like you should read that along the way just to have the necessary information for the course. Sometimes like we're gonna post over here like books. Steve doesn't necessarily work with a required book, but a required book might show up over here. And so does that, let me show you, for instance, like in this case, Jeff Illustrator piece. And so here, like, this is his logo, JF, right? Like Jeff Fies. And that was like, he learned that skill in Illustrator. And so like, now you can see that the person can design logos. And here, like we have an interesting project that it's a photorealism project. This is an actual photo, and this is an actual illustration that a student created in order to recreate this picture. And so you can see over here, like all the wiring that got done in Illustrator, all the way to like color that, like piece of artwork. And then in the Illustrator course, you do that, you do logos, you do infographics, and many other different projects. And then when you come to my portfolio class, then we turn that into perhaps an ad campaign, or we turn that, so you can see here like different samples. And because you created this as a vector graphic, then later on, it's very easy to color this like the way that you're saying it over here. You don't have to like do the drawing like 6 times to apply a color. So like it gets done once, and then you apply the color over it. So that's another billboard. And then here you can see also some like GIF files that were created in order to like promote the product in this case. And we will like all that information is here within the website. So like come back at your leisure later on, and just feel free to peruse around and to find out what people did in all of those different courses. Let's go to InDesign. We have here the sample of our former student, Yuya Sano. And so he did like these magazine covers, and also did a page layout that you're gonna see down below. So here he explains, like what the project is about. Here are the different page layouts that you can see, also like different covers. And you end up with a professional portfolio. And so here is an explanation about what Bunis means, the target audience, who is the ideal persona. And here are samples of different cover magazines. So like for the class, you only do one, but then when you come to my portfolio class, we expand that, having the same concept, but thinking about like, this is an annual magazine. So therefore, let's design, like different covers for each month. And then that's the logo. So he created the logo type. He created all these different letter forms by using Illustrator, like after learning the pen tool. And these are some of the layout samples. And let me stop that over here. Let's go and see typography. It's uploading really slow. Okay, typography. Or maybe I'm going too fast. Let's show both, because they are very different in terms of like outcomes. So here is what we like teach you. Like normally in typography, you do everything with type. You don't use necessarily like images, and so you're gonna see that over here on Ankita's project. Like she's on like this sort of like invitation to an event, and here are some posters about that, and it's all done with typography treatment. And then like this is a museum exhibit about typography. I don't know if you have been at the MoMA in San Francisco, where they have when they have done their type exhibits, like they look fantastic. They're amazing in concept and in design. So you can see here like the O, like being the graphic aspect, but at the same time, it's just a letter form that here is bold. The one in the middle, it's like italics, and the one in the back, it's regular. And she just play a little bit with color to kind of like create emphasis. And so these are all different samples of like poster design. And let's celebrate typography. Let's put banners on the street and let the passerby take a look on that, and maybe they will be inclined to go to the exhibit. And here is a book that was created with all of the different outcomes from the class by doing research about those different type designers, right? Like you can see here the samples of the poster, and it goes on and on. And here are like postcard invitations, but don't, like with the same graphics, but treated a little bit different so that they're cohesive within the project, within the campaign that one is developing. And let me show you like Ian's work. He does the opposite. Like he learned the typography rules and all of that, but at the same time, he likes doing like digital type and does all these different like sort of illustration combination with type in Illustrator, and creates these different aspects of how typography can be like handled. And so like that's one sample. Here is another one. Like a brochure, a mixtape. And then all of this is also his personal illustrations that, like he learned by using Illustrator software. So in the portfolio course, you combined many different tools to create your final outcomes. This is a cool one for a restaurant. And so that's the logo, that's the menu. And he keeps his theme, like cohesive. And that's what you will learn in the portfolio course, how to like keep things together and keep making them belong. And so different little assets, right? Like from a shopping bag to put your purchases in, an apron, and a business card. You can have fun with that, like when you get some time. And I'm gonna show you over here the Photoshop outcomes. Nicholas will be your teacher, so I want to show you like samples of his website. Like he's a commercial photographer, and you can come over here and see kind of like the type of work he does. And so like these are called composites, which are, like organization of different like pieces of images coming from like, different aspect of images coming from sometimes like 50, 70 different images combined into one. And let me show you student work, Matt Linzer. So he created like this sort of like movement posters, by doing ballet. He was a ballet dancer. So created the logo, the stationery, some like GIF files done in Photoshop to add motion to the project. And then here are some posters that he created, like and places within the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts. So we'll teach you how to like make realistic outcomes that are like as if they were already like designed and printed or being in context, like sort of like live. And here is Eva's project. So another project that Nicholas liked to do in this class is a campaign for a movie, you know, for an existing film. And then you have to manipulate all the different layers. You have to like bring the different assets. So he will walk you through all of those different things that are required. And as you can see, like they're placed in context. And here is what it will look on a website, what it will look, you know, like in an airplane and on somebody's desktop or on the iPhone or even in the popcorn container. And let me go back over here. And here is the web design. So like Amanda designed this, like colorful, crazy, like the B-52's website. And so it's bright as it can be because they're like really bright. So that was intentionally and on target with what they do and who they are. So you can see here sort of like screenshots of what happened on the website, but you can go on the link over here to see, you know, like the actual code and the actual layout here. Like we just taught her how to do this kind of different animations so that one can be in one place. And if one wants to go and see the whole website, one can do that too. And so like here is about the design process and all of the different wireframes that were created. And you can also like see it on Behance. So that's what we normally do for the graphic design program. And I want to show you something over here on her website. In my class, we also do a video that is sort of a promotional video to promote one's skill. So take a look on this briefly, like that won't take too long. And then we can go back in case you have more questions. All right, so that's kind of like a brief overview, like about the outcomes that happen in our program. Do you have any other questions for us? Just to let you know, courses, like some of them began, you know, like last week or the week before, but there are many different coming up in February and March. So there's still time to enroll in all of those different courses at this time, except for the InDesign course, because that one started a while ago, I think like 2 weeks ago, but the other 6 and the courses for further advancement are available. So like, if you feel like taking one single course and giving it a try, by all means, you can do that. You don't need to register for the program until you are sure about that, by taking one course, if that's your wish.
So here's a question from Katerina. She's just wondering about scholarship opportunities.
Like if you go to the website, let me go back over there. Give me 1 second. Not that. Hold on. Let me share my screen. So if one goes over here to the search bar and types scholarships, there is some information about that on this page. So UC Berkeley Extension doesn't necessarily offer many scholarships, but there are some available based on merit. But at times, those ones are available for students that have taken at least 2 courses and they have like good outcomes in terms of grades. And there's an application process that the students that applied for those need to go through. But there are also like, we don't do loans because we are kind of independent from the university, but you can still, like, if you go to the same search bar, like, and if you type over here like loans, the university provides some information about financial assistance and private loans. So by clicking on that, you can get to that information. Any other questions, Gary?
Not yet. Do we have any more questions?
Let me give you our email in which you can reach out to us in case you have any other questions like down the road. You can find us at extension-graphicdesign@berkeley.edu, and also our website extension.berkeley.edu/spos/graphics.html. And that brings us to an end of our presentation. So thank you for coming to see what our program or our courses are about. And let us know if you have any questions down the road. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Be safe.